All right, here we go with our next theory lesson, and this lesson today we'll talk about musical intervals. Intervals are an important part of understanding music theory because all of our future harmonic analysis that we'll be doing will rely on understanding intervals. So all the chords and harmonic structures that we study later on will be dependent on us knowing how intervals work. So let's take a look and see how that goes. The first interval we're going to look at is this interval between F and B flat. So notice here we are in the key of F, 1 flat in the key signature. And the way we figure out the number that goes with the interval is we just count how many notes there are in between the two, including the first and last note. So if we count up from the F to the B flat, counting both the F and the B flat, we see there's 4, so we call it a fourth. Now fourths can either be perfect, augmented, or diminished. Here's how we can tell which one it is. This is a perfect fourth because the upper note is in the key of the bottom note. So if the top note is in the key of the lower note, it's a perfect interval, it's a fourth or a fifth. Now let's see what the interval of perfect fourth sounds like. And now let's see what it sounds like together. So there's our interval of a perfect fourth. Now notice in this interval we've raised that B up to a B natural. So if we take a perfect fourth and increase it, then it's an augmented fourth, also called a tritone. Sounds a little bit different. It's a fairly dissonant interval. Here's the harmonic interval so we can hear what it sounds like. Yeah, pretty dissonant. So let's see what happens now when we lower that B flat by a half step. This is called a double flat, so we take the B flat and we lower it by a half step. And this is called a diminished fourth. And let's hear what this sounds like. And then here we see it again as a harmonic interval. Let's see what it sounds like. So there's all of our intervals of a fourth. So let's take a look here at our perfect fifth. We're in the key of D now. Notice that the A is in the key of D, so it's a perfect interval. Now we lower the A to A flat, and we get a diminished fifth. And notice that the diminished fifth is also called a tritone. It sounds the same as the augmented fourth. There's our augmented fifth, noticing that we've raised the A by a half step. So let's take a look at major and minor intervals. Here they all are in the key of C. Major second, major third, major sixth, and a major seventh. So we find the interval number by counting up from the lower note. If the upper note is in the key of the lower note, it's major. If it's a second, a third, a sixth, or a seventh, remembering fourth and fifths are perfect intervals. Major second, major third, major sixth, and a major seventh. Now if we lower all the upper notes by half a step, they become minor intervals. So since the upper note is not in the key signature, and it's been lowered by half a step, so again we count up from the lower note to figure the number, second, third, sixth, or seventh, and if it's lowered, then it's a minor interval. Minor second, minor third, minor sixth, and a minor seventh. There are augmented and diminished seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths, but they are rarely used by composers. There are other intervals that sound the same, so they are not used very often. So we'll talk about those in detail when we actually see them in any of the music that we're studying. All right, and that's it for this theory lesson. And next time we'll be looking at how we take the intervals and start creating chords and harmonies.